course, the current British Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, tries to play down the fact that he was very much in favour of getting rid of the British monarchy on tape in an interview a few years back now. It's funny, isn't it, what power, corruption and of course prestige can do for you. And of course he was very keen and very clear to zip along to collect the honour of becoming Sir Keir Starmer, particularly at a difficult time during his, shall we say, personal life. I'll leave that there. Now, where it gets really interesting is, as we all know, to have a bit of royal stardust on any event is very, very important, particularly in this day and age. And recently, over here in the United Kingdom, they've just put together an investment summit. It's nothing new, you know, previous governments have done it for years, but they're spending your taxpayers' cash, making sure, of course, that you're aware that they're working for Britain, that sort of thing. And when people say, Neil, no, you know, you're very political, I'm saying to you, I would report this on any single party. This is what they do. This is fascinating in itself. If you saw how, for instance, the Lib Dems waste money on all of their projects that these donators are giving, you'd be amazed. The same with the Conservative Party. Every party does the same thing. But here's where it gets really interesting, because recently at this investment summit, you could have said that this was a personal slap in the teeth to His Majesty the King. Let me explain. Morning, good to see you. Thank you so much as ever for your time. Investment, it's a big word, isn't it? You and I invest in stuff every day, don't we? We invest our time, we invest in if we can afford to go to the supermarket, put our heating on, all of that sort of stuff. All the while, the people in power that apparently are leading us and telling us exactly how we should lead our lives, well, you know, they know what to do, don't they? They're quaffing champagne inside St. Paul's Cathedral, enjoying full halal meat meals. But of course, not everybody was happy with this. This was an event put together by Sir Keir Starmer for this particular investment group. It wasn't, in fact, it was all put together quite a few months back. But there you go. What's fascinating is this is about getting people to invest, and they invited certain bigwigs along, including the ubiquitous Sir Elton John, who got out his piano and, like an aging Mrs. Mills, decided to take to the keys and entertain the crowd, as if they hadn't suffered enough. But now, what was fascinating to note was, standing in the lineup was none other than this particular lady. Remember her? Adea Anju, right. Now, if you remember her, during the coronation, very, very openly on international television, she said she was incredibly disappointed with the balcony at Buckingham Palace because it was terribly, terribly white. This resulted in a massive complaints, over 8,000 alone, to Ofcom. But no action was taken because apparently Ofcom couldn't see a problem. If you check on who looks after Ofcom, you'll get the picture. So guess what Labour did? Clearly, you know, we have to say allegedly, this particular lady is no great fan of the monarchy. So they got her to host this event, knowing that His Majesty the King would be attending at some point. You see how this works? It's an underlying case, some people might suggest, of bullying, you know? Now, His Majesty the King, alongside his great mother, Queen Elizabeth, have seen it all. It doesn't put them off, and I admire His Majesty, first of all for battling through with ill health, but a little courtesy, a little manners and politeness would go a long way. Now, while it was not known whether they were introduced, it will be fascinating to find that B-roll footage pictures to see exactly who they managed to get standing alongside His Majesty the King. But as you can see, for all these anti-monarchists who claim they don't like the royal family and they do no good, etc., they're all keen to be pictured. And it's terrible to think, isn't it, that this poor man in those years has to take along and be stood alongside these insufferable people that do so much to make his life very difficult. As for the host, apparently she's the star of the drama Bridgerton. All I can say is her moment definitely has peaked. What do you think? Neil Sean in the very heart of London.